from the way you see it, how is legal tech looking at the AI movement today? Technology will not replace lawyers, but lawyers that deal with technology will replace lawyers that don't.
There will be new jobs created as well. Those people that can use the technology the best, it's creating new roles. There's what's called a prompt engineer.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Tech for Legal. I am your host. Joining me today is a returning guest, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Rodina.
So for anybody that didn't tune into the last one, let's just do a small intro. So Jeremy Small, you're the CEO and founder of Jameson Legal. It's an award-winning international legal recruitment company and legal tech consultancy firm with offices in London, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Your clients include top US and UK law firms, sovereign wealth funds, fast-growing tech companies, and major corporates. You had previously pursued a legal career with two major law firms in London, including working as a private equity and mergers and acquisitions. You moved into legal recruitment in 2004. You worked initially in Singapore before establishing Jameson Legal in 2010. Together with your colleagues, you launched Jameson Legal Tech in 2021 to provide an advisory consultancy working with legal technology companies and help them grow a global client base with the legal sector. In the same year, you were honored to be appointed as a UK ambassador to the European Legal Tech Association. Currently, you're now an advisor and an investor to a number of exciting tech and legal tech companies that include Connected and MediaPlay. How have you been since the last time?
Very well, thank you, Rodina. It's great to be back with you. And thank you for the introduction.
Thank you for coming. You know, at some point, I'm going to want to ask about the European Legal Tech Association and what does that entail as a UK ambassador. So maybe we can start with this next time, develop a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a big growth, I think, in interest in legal tech around the world. In America, we have an entity called ILTA, and that's very well known in the industry. ILTA has been created to harness interest from around Europe. So there are now many ambassadors in all the different, well, not all the different countries, but a lot of the different countries in Europe. And I'm proud to be one of the ambassadors in the UK to ILTA. So there's a sort of facility to exchange ideas, bring everyone up to speed on what's happening in each jurisdiction with regards to legal tech. There are events, there's knowledge that can be given to people that are members, and sharing of ideas also with entities like ILTA as well. So it's for someone that is not a techie person, it was an honor to be thought of as someone that was involved with legal tech and had something to value to give to the rest of the members.
Most of us didn't have that tech background, but somehow you get sucked into the tech background and it just evolves and you become more interested and you move into it. I mean, for AI, for example, it's everywhere. The technology has grown exponentially within the past year. Everybody's trying to use it. They want to incorporate it. They talk about it. And there's a certain fear, and you hear that fear within the regulation, not necessarily within the practice of it. So anybody that has been using it loves the technology. They find that this technology is very helpful. They're not afraid of it. However, with the regulation, that is usually slower than the tech. So you have these kind of, okay, no, let's put a hold on this and let's see how this is going to be affecting whether the actual work or the workforce before we decide to sanction it, that it's okay, that it's fine, that you can use it. But it has had an impact recently in the legal world. I know from for legal, it has had an impact. But from the way you see it, how is legal tech looking at the AI movement today?
Yeah, AI is a really big area and it's really interesting. I think you've got the effect AI will have on all of our lives as the bigger picture. And then you've got how AI will affect our individual jobs and technology that we're using as kind of a smaller, but equally important area as well to discuss. Yeah. I sort of briefly discussed this in our last meeting. AI is going to have a huge effect on the professions. I recently was lucky enough to watch a speech by Richard Susskind, who is an expert in AI and the ethics of AI. And he was talking about the effect on professions such as the legal industry, accountancy, the medical industry, all these areas where it's knowledge-based. You go and study for years, you build up your knowledge, and then you impart your knowledge to customers effectively. If knowledge is available through AI easily and to everyone, how is that going to affect those professions? And what jobs are going to be created or lost in those professions? And I think everyone's a bit fearful right now because AI has really come on the scene and everyone's talking about it. Everyone's trying to use it. You see every company announcing that they've harnessed AI in their product. I think people are generally a little bit fearful. I mean, I have got 2 daughters. I also fearful. What jobs are they going to get? How is AI going to affect them, their career choices? So I think everyone's thinking about this right now. In terms of the legal profession in particular, I think there is some fear that it's going to affect their business model because people are paying them a lot of money for their knowledge, for their, every hour. If that is cut down by speed through AI or the knowledge is available easier to legal departments, they don't have to go to law firms, or you can go online and you can interact with bots rather than people to advise you, that's going to cut into what is a very profitable industry.
But if you think about it, so information has been available, right? It's not new. It's not like now suddenly all this information is out there. The only difference is it cuts down on the reasoning time and it cuts down on the time it takes you to form an opinion. That's why when you prompt certain questions, it will give you the précis in a shorter time. So I think that's it. The way I see it, this is what's the good thing is. It just cuts down on research, not just information. I think the information is available because even all of the AI technology today is taking the information that's available on the web. The thing is, you still need to make sure the source is correct, and you still need to safeguard that this technology sometimes can be wrong. It's not foolproof. None of it is foolproof, but it's better than what we used to have before. And like you said, it cuts down on your time to put 20 different articles, read them yourself, create an opinion about them yourself, and then, condense it into a proper answer. But I remember one of our guests once said, technology will not replace lawyers, but lawyers that deal with technology will replace lawyers that don't. And I think the same goes for people that embrace this kind of technology. I mean, if you show fear, we're not going to learn. And you're not going to get involved in it. And the more you're uninvolved, the more you're pushing yourself out of that market. So I don't think it's anything to fear, but I think we're a long way from it being accepted and used. But we have seen it, so we have to get on it. It's there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, at the moment, the tech is not there that is replacing lawyers, I would say. People don't have the confidence in the answers and responses. And it's a question of how quickly and how fast that improves so that there is more confidence in the response of AI to questions that you give it in comparison with those questions to experienced lawyers. I don't think we're there yet. However, if you look at how fast it's moving, not long ago, they asked it to do the bar exam in America and it didn't do very well, but then a few months later, it was in the top 10%. So that gives you an example of how quickly things can move. Proves. Yeah, but it's still subject to giving, I think, what they call hallucinations. So just making up responses. And I think a couple of lawyers in America recently got caught out because they used it and then presented that in court. And some of the cases just didn't exist, etc. So we've got a long way to go. I think where it's proving of value is where people are training the ChatGPT on specific contracts or, in a more contained environment. And AI, obviously, for software like App for Legal as well, using AI to assist in drafting or in research, that is a tool that people can use right now and is very helpful. And the more it's sort of trained on specifics, I think the more comfort people have at the moment about it, particularly sort of with regards to contract drafting, if you can look back at, the clauses you should be
Some
using,
analytics in there as well.
analytics. You can also look at things like, what is the best response to another party or to their contracts based on experience and things like
What
that. That
could
is
be the
really
risks
valuable.
sometimes as
What
well?
are the
It
risks in
can
the
evaluate
contracts?
some of
What are
the
the key clauses that you should be addressing? How should you be drafting those clauses? That is moving fast, and that is saving clients money. It's making lawyers more efficient. They can do more with their time. Actually, if you think about it, a lot of cases and a lot of legal work is left undone because people can't afford lawyers, or the time taken to engage a lawyer is too long. Yeah, so there's actually a vast amount of legal work that is not done, not addressed. Most people that don't have a legal background or understanding of the law, a lot of them will shy away from engaging a lawyer because these lawyers appear to be in their ivory towers. It's quite,
and it's quite costly.
Speaking to a lawyer, it's costly, and that puts a lot of people off. So those companies, I'm aware of some companies that are building, bots where people can go on and spend, €5 and get a pretty good consultation, and it will draft your forms for you and you can file them at court. Then if you have lawyers behind that, where you want to be able to speak to someone, you want to understand a bit more about a case or get a better opinion, I think that's quite a good model, combining AI with real people. And that's probably the future. And I think those lawyers, as you say, those lawyers that get to know the tech, get to use it, are going to be the winners. Those that put their head in the sand, over time, they're going to become less relevant. Yeah, and that's the same with all tech around the world in every industry, isn't it, really? The industries are all changing at the same time. So you've got to embrace it as far as you can. And there will be new jobs created as well. Those people that can use the technology the best, it's creating new roles. There's what's called a prompt engineer, which is a new role that's been created, where someone who really understands how best to prompt ChatGPT or similar things to give the right answers are actually becoming of value. And I've seen one or two law firms in the UK advertise for people to come in and take up that position. There are other people coming in, taking up positions where they're responsible really to look at how AI can be addressed within a law firm environment. New jobs will be created when technology changes, and hopefully that will fill some of the gap as well.
Some of those jobs, we've seen an uptake in jobs within legal tech or legal tech providers where they're hiring AI developers and people with in-depth knowledge of how AI works in order to develop softwares that use AI to provide a better service, because that's what's being asked for. There's difference between using, the GPT technology that's open source and creating your own that is internal, where your data privacy is still protected.
Yeah.
So you create your own GPT source within the services that you're providing. It still protects your client's data. So they're not afraid of, using the prompt, putting it on the GPT technology that's open source, and having that data available to anybody that might use it in the future. So I think our data privacy thing is also kind of a very specific subject that needs to still be resolved within the tool.
Absolutely. And for law firms, obviously, this is a huge issue for them, maintaining confidentiality. That's why they're moving perhaps a bit more slowly than some other industries, I would say. There was real interest recently when A&O decided to use an AI-focused company and roll that out to some of their lawyers to use on a day-to-day basis. And that, I think, woke up other firms to the fact that if A&O can do it, we should probably be looking into this. So there are AI-specific companies where what they can provide is a tool for lawyers to, as a kind of support or a co-pilot sitting with them, helping them to do their day-to-day jobs.
What might be a better idea within their scope.
Exactly. And as long as that maintains data privacy and integrity of the data that you're getting, I think those tools will be really useful. When I was a junior lawyer, if I how would I improve what I was doing? I'd have to go and knock on the door of a partner and see if he was available, and he'd spend a bit of time with me, and then I'd go back and try and work it out. But if I have a trained AI co-pilot with me, helping me with all that information, that's really useful for junior lawyers, probably frees up the senior lawyers to do more high value work as well, potentially, or business development.
Spend their time actually focusing on their clients and their client needs. And maybe sometimes when you reduce that kind of work, you have time to bring in more clients.
Exactly, yeah.
Actually more business. So it's I think it's a balance, right? So maybe you have 20 people doing research. Instead, you have just 3 people doing research. The rest is validating what the research is doing, and that saves you time. It saves your client money, which gives them the confidence to, you know what? Yes, they are working, but it doesn't cost the way it used to. They're still getting the same results. So you might get longer time with these clients. They're not going to move somewhere else just because the prices have skyrocketed and the market is not what it used to be before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that the whole legal industry has already adapted a lot. It may seem incredibly conservative, but the old model used to be, you'd work your way up, you'd be a partner, and below that would be like a pyramid. You'd have loads of associates and paralegals, administrators and typists and everyone else. A lot of this bottom level has gone, and it's much more like that now. And so law firms are a lot more efficient than they used to be. So they are more profitable. Already it's rare that law firms go bust, and law firm profits generally, despite COVID and all these other challenges, they generally are going, upwards rather than downwards. So they are doing something right. And I think that they will be able to use technology actually to increase profitability. And the law firm market as well is distributed. So you've got different layers of law firm. At the top level, you've got the biggest companies in the world. They would go and pay the highest rate to the best lawyers. And then you've got a whole sort of open area for consumers, many of whom wouldn't use a lawyer, who now can, or they're comfortable actually working with a bot. They do that when they're speaking to other companies and paying their bills and what have you. So I think there's other avenues where you can build the market and it can grow, and jobs will change. So, previously when I got into the industry, I was one of 100 plus paralegals working on one case. Now there's in the same environment, you might have 2, 3, 4 paralegals running that matter. So it's already changed massively. And the document sort of review,
it became
issue.
easier.
Now you can use AI to search thousands of documents and pull out all the relevant data, and so it's moved on already.
But it's no longer so alien or foreign. We've been doing that in services for the past 6-7 years. You had that technology already there, where you're not really talking to a human, you're talking to a bot. So it's not that alien anymore. It's not something that's curious.
No.
Yeah, you're not talking to you. I want to talk to somebody that's human. That we kind of shifted away from this.
I think we did. I think the fear is a little bit, we won't know the difference. We still kind of know the difference if we speak to a bot or not. And if we're speaking to someone you really can't tell, that's where it kind of unsettles human beings.
They're so polite as well. The way they answer you, this technology is that they're extremely polite, and it's an actual conversation. So there's a flow. You keep the conversation going. It's an actual conversation. It's not a question answer kind of thing. To touch a bit on your knowledge of, as a consultant to legal tech, how can legal professionals prepare themselves for this? I'm going to say new market, because in the past 3 years, a lot of things have become really quite, post-COVID, plus with the technology that's been evolving and all of these things and the regulations that are coming out with it. So how can, I'm going to say professionals, not from the company side, but, any just graduate or postgraduate that are looking at becoming recruited into these companies, what can they do to better their chances?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting area because, previously lawyers would get a degree, they'd go to law school, they'd start working, and there would be some level of continuous professional development, but very limited, maybe 10 hours a year you'd be expected to do as professional development. So other than that, you're just doing your job and you're getting on with it. But with regards to technology, it's moving so fast and it's so disparate, and it can be, if you move into one law firm, they're using one type of tech, and another one is using another. So I think that what people need to do is have a continuous learning kind of mindset and be open to understanding what is out there, trying it out. It might even be in their own time. Also trying to get their employer to engage with this learning process. So there are courses out there. There's a good one which is called the Legal Tech Innovation Certificate. And that one harnesses experts in legal tech from around the world. And it's a sort of 3-month course, and people will get a full understanding of what's going on in the legal tech environment, as well as gaining an insight into sort of certain tools, etc. But problem with things like that is they're quite expensive for people. So it's not reaching a mass market. It's kind of individuals who want to pay for that themselves, or if they can persuade their employer. I think that going forwards, law firms really need to look at this and think, we need to not just train up 1 or 2 individuals. We need to have everyone understanding about the technology, and not just the younger members joining as well, but the more senior lawyers as well doing these courses, so that everyone is getting an insight into what is happening in the legal tech space. Everyone's getting an insight into the tech that's available and the skills to use it. There are some forward-thinking firms that are making sure that as part of their training programs, legal tech plays a part, but there are also, in the use of it, in the understanding of it, there are also some firms who pick individuals, and those people will be trained up in legal tech. And I think that's a bit of an error, because although it's good that they're investing in legal tech, it's not about individuals, it's about the whole firm. So going forwards, I think there needs to be a lot more investment in training, in understanding what is out there in legal tech, and that goes hand in hand with those people investing in the decision makers who are choosing the legal tech, integrating it and rolling it out. There's so many challenges. People can choose a great tech product, but if they don't then train their teams on using it and get them to use it regularly or use it in the right way, often it fails because it hasn't been adopted properly as well.
From the lawyers that are talked to, it's usually lawyers that move to new companies that have been using legal tech in their old companies that find it kind of impossible to go back to a firm that does not use legal tech.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that usually push this technology, because it feels like you're going backwards when you've been using legal tech, let's say, for a couple of years, even for 6 months. Going back to the way things were, you kind of get lost, and your tasks, instead of taking 30 minutes, are now taking 4 hours. So you get demotivated. You feel like you're not doing what you used to do before. So you're the one that's really pushing those firms into adopting legal technology, because you kind of can't live without it anymore today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is a factor actually in whether people choose to move these days.
Yeah.
If they know, particularly with a law firm is showing the world that they are on top of technology, they're investing in it, they're interested in it, that is an attraction, particularly for younger people to join an entity like that. It's a forward-thinking firm. If a firm is very conservative, likes its old processes, doesn't give people laptops or all these sorts of things, then people are going to shy away from that, because in their lives they're used to using tech all the time. And you go to work and you can't use it properly, it's a problem, isn't it?
It is. And I think there's a lot of ambiguity about it. Sometimes you think, how long before everybody adopts legal tech? Because even governments, you have some governments that are pushing, they're making it mandatory in some things. For example, you have the digital signature, you have digital invoicing. Some governments are making it mandatory, and if you don't have the technology to keep up with it, you can't do your taxes. So all of these things. So you have a lot of governments that are pushing their firms into digitizing, whether they like it or not. Otherwise, you're out. I think I don't see it taking more than maybe another couple of years for most of the established markets to become one of those firms becoming fully digitized. Or at least I hope it doesn't take more than a couple of years.
Yeah, actually, you can see some countries even that are very far behind the curve. But because they're so far behind the curve, when they decide to sort of digitize, things can move really fast, and then it's imposed on everyone to connect to that technology.
Because the error has already happened in different...
Yeah, it's a bit like... Exactly. It's a bit like in Africa, where we may not have had landlines, and then mobile comes, and so technology comes very quickly to countries that, you know, previously might have been quite far behind. I think that one issue for people is this: there's so much choice out there. So part of what we do with our business is try and break down what are the key technologies that are out there, and then give an offering to firms or in-house teams, and then they can hopefully have some confidence that these are good technology products that they could then implement. But if you're in a busy legal role, you know, you're a GC, you're so busy in your day-to-day role, and then you're told, can you also digitize the legal department? It's so much to do. You've got to get education. You're worried about making a mistake because often products are expensive. Are they going to integrate with what you've got already? It's a real minefield. And some people will shy away from that and just say, that's not my job. Other people will really delve into it. So you do find some general counsels or some lawyers who are incredibly passionate about it and very knowledgeable about it. Then they might have issues in up the chain getting sign off and getting budget. So there are issues out there. I think that in many industries, you know, the volume of tech starts to decrease as there's consolidation and people get comfort in a certain brand, or that they can do lots of things with one product.
And so companies will have the tools that allow you to incorporate whatever you need within one, one solution. You don't have to buy 5, 6 different solutions the way they used to do the
Exactly.
before. Now, most companies will have one product that can adapt. They have also, you have these APIs that allow you to plug in tools that are necessary to you that might not be necessary to other firms, but you do need them. So I think that technology, it should propel everyone within the next couple of years to be completely digital.
I think so. I think there'll be consolidation. People will be looking for products which can do multiple things, so they don't have to train a team.
For multiple departments as well.
For multiple, exactly, not just the legal department, it could be the procurement team or whatever it may be. Prices may come down of this type of technology. People will want to be using it in the cloud because that's still a bit of an issue in certain places as well, and the confidence of allowing people to use cloud services. And, I think industries will change as a result of this, and the legal industry is ripe for change.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity here. If people see it more as an opportunity, they can be very profitable and be more competitive by using these tools. Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, thank you. It's been a very nice chat about AI. Thank you for joining us again. Hopefully we'll see you again very soon. But for now, this is all the time we have for today's episode. Everybody, thank you for joining. See you next time.